Good afternoon, everyone. You've all been asked to come here today so that we could share with you a little bit of information that's already out in the press regarding a recent incident that happened here at Harrisburg District where one of our employees embezzled some funds. The employee was terminated after her resignation, submitting her resignation once we become aware of the situation. As you know, this is a personnel matter, and there's not a lot of liberty or information I can provide at this time. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to share with you what I could.
Did she quit after it came to light, or did it? Yes,
she submitted her resignation upon us becoming aware of the situation.
How was she able to? This was going on for about a year and a half or something like that, a little bit more than a year. How was this able to go undetected or not, noticed for that long?
Well, part of that's in the investigation. Our business manager would have to speak to that issue. We just know that once we became aware of it, we addressed it, and at that point, she became aware and resigned.
I am told that she does have a criminal background, and which includes theft. Was that looked into? Was there a background check before she was even hired?
There was a background check on the individual prior to their employment, but that wasn't part of our record at the point that this came to light.
So it was a background check, but that was not. Was it a full background check, or is that something that
we had conducted a background check as we do on all new hire employees, and given that she had been with the district for some time, there wasn't any additional information that led us to think that there was a concern at that point.
So you guys didn't know that she had a criminal past?
We did our background check, and we didn't know, what may have come out in record afterward.
What kinds of things do you look for in the background check for employees?
We look at everything from criminal, slander, theft, forgery, all type of situations.
So just to be clear, then the criminal past that she had, the charges that she had, that didn't come up in the background check, or didn't matter in that situation?
Yeah, I'm not privy to providing you with all the information. And as you know, you can go to your local sources and your police station to get that information. That's public knowledge.
What kind of oversight did she have in her job? What was the supervisory role over her and her accounts?
Well, she was in the transportation department, and she does have a supervisor, and that supervisor was engaged in supervising the activities with the transportation department.
Was there a financial supervisor, like a chief?
We do have a business manager on site, and we do have a CFO on site, and they were part in finding out what did occur and taking appropriate action once they were notified of the situation.
So she did have oversight, but she was the one who was dealing directly with Boyle. Yeah, Boyle. I guess she was dealing directly with them. There wasn't someone overheard that would be cross-checking kind of everything that she does.
Well, that's part of the business. That's part of the business department, and as personnel, I'm not involved in her day-to-day supervision. And as the stories that you've already have before you, I gave you a great deal of detail of exactly what had occurred.
Could someone else be, reprimanded or anything like that from the business department because of,
I can't speak to that at this time.
How is it that you guys eventually found out that she was embezzling money?
Well, through our relationships with our banks and other financial institutions, we were made aware and took appropriate action.
And going forward, does this change any kind of protocols, any kinds of steps to oversight over employees?
Whenever you have any situation, you always go back and look at your processes and procedures. You look at your personnel that you have in key roles of trust, and then you address them appropriately.
And I guess if it was the bank that brought this to the attention, then if I'm following it correctly, of the CFOs, are you assured that this isn't going on with other employees in similar positions? Or?
Well, just as I just spoke, we review all of our processes and procedures once things come to light, and then we take appropriate actions.
What's your just kind of overall reaction? Someone, you entrusted, in a leadership role, to handle, money, finances, and, they steal money from the district. I mean,
obviously, this is always a shock to any organization. One of the things is you have to trust someone. You trust your banks, you trust your babysitters, you trust your educators that teach your students. And we do our due diligence to try to address any things that may be an area of concern. But things do occur, and when we're made aware of things that are improper, we try to address them as swiftly as possible.
what happens now? Do you get the money back? Or?
Well, we're discussing some of these things with our bonding, and they'll be working that situation out.
The bonding, like
Insurers?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
So they will work hand in hand with law enforcement to determine
What's
whether
recoverable.
there's restitution, what's recoverable, things like that.
Through your insurance company?
Possibly.
Okay.
And was she with the school district before she was working as transportation?
She's been
director?
with the school district since 2009.
Okay. What were her other capacities here?
She worked in the capacity of, she was a registered secretary and some other positions. But not to get ahead of myself and share with you her full background, I just want to close off at this point and say, it's an unfortunate situation. Once notified, we captured as much information as we could. We notified appropriate authorities, and now this case has been turned over to them to dispose.
Turned over to police?
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, pretty much, I'm safe saying that when our banking institution brought it to our attention, we just were all shocked, disbelief, disappointment, felt violated, that the relationship between employer and employee was definitely violated. It was just an overwhelming amount of emotion.
As things change, as far as the banking industry, how you deposit checks, how you cash checks, all those things are always changing. And as they change, all employers have to be more vigilant in reviewing their processes so that they can stay in front of it.
So that's kind of, is that like something like a learning experience? Has this happened before? Is this
Not to my knowledge.
Here,
No.
so no.
Is that kind of a learning experience? You guys are going to be more vigilant, and I think that speaks to kind of your question about what could change. What do you mean?
Well, and if you look at the report, one of the things that the banking security department brought to our attention, that the majority of these transactions were done with technology, using some type of a mobile device. So the individual never really often came in contact with a person at the bank. That was what we were told, that how this was able to continue for the length of time that it did.
Say that since he's in the mic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you just say what she said?
Okay.
Just because the mic is right there.
Okay.
So we can hear.
Now, I think that's part of the backstory that we have to let law enforcement work through, as far as the individual admitting, and the investigation's ongoing, so they need to take that to its conclusion.
But being able to deposit things electronically, does that make it harder to catch?
Yes.
That's what I was trying to say.
Can you just say that instead of me saying that?
So
Yeah, that
yeah.
would be great.
So are you comfortable
with
with that, Mr. Tribue?
I'll say this: with new banking ways of banking, leaves organizations more vulnerable to different types of fraud and deception.
And just to clarify, did all of these transactions happen online, or most, or how do you classify?
I think that's information in the article. I
It's
thought
in-
I saw
okay.
some references there.
Okay.
And maybe I didn't catch this. How did the banking institution discover that there was some fraud going on?
I didn't share that.
And-
See, again, I don't want to get too far in front of the investigators that are dealing with the case, and put things out in the media that will come out as they proceed with their investigation.
So it wasn't the business manager that brought it to you guys' attention, it was the banking institution that brought it to your attention?
It was both.
Okay, it was both. It just, something seemed weird on the invoices.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it said in the report that the superintendent had like originally filed the theft charge, is that correct?
It was, yes. Her and the business manager filed the charges.
Again, that was after they brought it to our attention.
Right, so it was the banking and then it kind of filtered down.
Okay. Okay, I think I'm good, unless anyone has any other questions.